All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the IMG session. This is the IMG Academy, where we demystify everything about research. We're very happy to have very important guests with us, very important people who are going to tell us about residency and make it easier for us. I just want to, as a disclaimer, say that whatever they are going to share with us today is their own personal opinion and is not a representation of their program in any way. This is just their opinions. So I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Adaobi Atuenyi to start with telling us what she thinks going forward, how we can go about residency. Thank you. Sorry, maybe we can just introduce ourselves first so that we can I know Dr. Edward has introduced, but it would be okay if you can each introduce yourselves. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Ada Atuenyi. I'm a PGY2 family medicine resident at Larkin Community Hospital in Miami, Florida. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to ask Dr. Ebi to just tell us a little bit about herself as we go on up with the session.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. My name is Ebi. My name is longer than that, but let's just keep it short. I'm a pediatric hospitalist currently working at CHI Mercy Medical in Oregon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today. And then I'll go over to Dr. Augusta to tell us a little bit about herself.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dr. Malinka Augusti. I'm a PGY3. So this is my last year of family medicine residency. I also moonlight for the Department of Health, and I'm the tuberculosis lead physician for Palm Beach County as well.
Okay, thank you so much. The great things happening with TB. We're hoping to learn so much from you today. I'll go on to Dr. Omole.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Janet Omole. I am a PGY2 with Advocate Christ Medical Center down here in Oakland, Illinois. I also happen to be the ACP Resident of the Year, Illinois chapter. It's lovely seeing you all today, and I can't wait for us to dig in.
Thank you so much. So you're just right around the corner from me in Chicago. And lastly, I'm going to have Dr. Eddie tell us about herself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Vivian D. I am a PGY3 resident internal medicine, Wellstar Cannon Stone Regional Medical Center here in Marietta. I know Eddie introduced me as a chief. So initially I had accepted chief year to do fourth year chief year. However, I had better opportunity that came up. And so I took on a better opportunity. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, and good to see everyone.
Thank you so much. So just as a reminder, today we're going to have a session to help residents basically look into the life of every resident, help us with answers to common questions, help us to navigate through residency and make the best of it. So we're going to be listening to these guests tell us a bit more about residency. So just to start off, I'm going to start off with key things. Maybe we go with orientation and onboarding. And maybe you guys can share your experiences with regards to that. What are the things you think will be helpful for people in the first few days of residency? What should they be doing? What should they be looking at when they're starting up residency? Thank you.
Do you want us to go specialty by specialty, or?
We can go with, I'll just call up, maybe then everyone can share and then we can chip in as we go along. Is that okay? Is that okay? Or do you want to go randomly?
That's fine. I think that might be more than.
Yeah, let me go with Dr. Atuenyi first, because she's first on my screen, and she can start with sharing with us.
All right, hey guys, good evening again. So like I said earlier, I'm from family medicine. Preparing for residency is different for each specialty. To be honest, there are certain requirements for each specialty. Having the right tools, the right study materials that are relevant to your specialty is very important. But prior to that, if you have to relocate for residency, because I think that's where it always starts from. You've marched into residency, probably you have a family, and next thing everybody's thinking about relocating to wherever your program is. That's always a big deal for families. So first and foremost, you want to find a place that is conducive for you and your family, especially if you have kids. I'm going to share my own personal experience. I moved from Texas to Florida with my daughter. So for me, it was important to have accommodation that was that had proximity to the hospital and also had proximity to a good school area and as well as a nice neighborhood where I could raise my child. So those are the things that I had in mind. So first and foremost, moving, your relocation is important, considering that you're going to be moving with a family. Second of all, like I mentioned, the tools and materials you need. Some programs provide the tools like study tools like your UpToDate, your academic portal. Say you are with family medicine, for example. Some programs will provide your AAFP portal, your ABFM, they pay all of that for you. And then you get those materials, your study materials. Some don't, you may have to pay out of pocket for your study materials. Medical licensing, some programs will refund when you pay for your medical license. Say like you're moving to a different state, you don't have a license there, you have to pay for your license. Some programs will reimburse you for that and some will not. So again, it's program specific. Onboarding takes time. So once they start sending you documents I'm sure by now a lot of you would have received your onboarding documents, your contracts, read through your contracts before you sign. See what else about onboarding? There's a lot of requirements. They ask you to submit all kinds of documents. Try to submit everything that is asked of you, because when you start residency, these documents may be required if you have to do a rotation outside of your hospital. For example, your program coordinator might need to go into your portal to use these documents to get you signed on to wherever you're going to go to for your rotation. So try to have all your documents as soon as possible. Whatever is required for your onboarding, you try to do that. I think the last thing will be for immigration. If you have to travel from out of the country and you require some, immigration documents, some programs, again, will help you. But then again, if the program accepted you, knowing that you have certain immigration issues or different types of visas, I think the program will help you send certain documents. So try to have that done before the 1st of July, which is the official resumption date for most programs. I think that's pretty much it as far as health insurance and the little things like your feeding, your stipends. Again, those are program specific and you find a lot of those information on your contracts. So I'm just gonna leave that for now and then let other people add to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So I'm going to have, you've spoken a lot on resources and then navigating, transitioning and all that. So I'm going to have Dr. Abby talk to us more on, like once you get into the hospital, so your first few days, what is it like? I know it's program specific, but if you can give us an inkling of how or what to expect.
Yeah, so congratulations to everybody who matched, first of all. So the first thing I like to tell people is just be the best version of you. Be yourself. Don't try to get into a competition. Nobody likes a busybody. At the same time, you also want to be seen, to be active. You want to do what you're supposed to do. That's the most important thing. One thing I always tell residents, even the ones I work with, is your first year, you're trying to keep your head above water. You're trying not to get into trouble. You're not trying to, if you end up being the best resident while doing that, fantastic. But you just don't want to get into trouble. You don't want to get into, I just tell people it's like doing your time. It's like doing the jail time, if that makes sense. Just do your time. Don't cause trouble. Don't, especially if you're a foreign medical graduate, don't try to stir things up. Nobody likes those kind of people. So you want to be friendly. You want to be courteous, and you also want to be bold. Our training as Nigerians or Africans sometimes, makes us, I wouldn't say timid, but you want to be able to express yourself in a very humble, but yet, you're able to express yourself well enough for them to know that you know stuff. In America, if you do not speak up, being quiet or introverted, or in quote, the term we call respectful, kind of comes off as if you are dull, in quote. But at the same time, you want to find that balance between, just being confident enough to express what you know and not being overconfident. So you have to kind of strike that balance. The other thing is, for pediatrics, your ITE is going to be in your first month. So you're just coming in as raw as you are. They're doing an ITE. So my recommendation for pediatrics is that might not be your best ITE, and don't get discouraged. Everybody would always be like, oh, maybe when it comes out, there's this class ranking, and you're like, oh, you ranked this, you ranked that. Don't use that to bother your head. Try to improve. The most important thing is that you're improving as the years go by. And also your clinical skills. You want your pediatricians to, or rather you want your attendings to know that you know what you're doing. That's the most important thing. Whether you pass IT, you pass boards, if you don't succeed in residency, you wouldn't even get to the boards, to even pass it. So don't focus on trying to, of course, read, do questions, do all of that. But it's futile if you are bad clinically and you just know stuff. Nobody would, nobody would really like that kind of physician. So then for people, like she said, for people relocating, you want to make sure that everything is, if they ask for documents, you need to send it as soon as possible. And one tip I want to give is always check your emails. Many of us might not be used to always being on top of our emails and all of that, but always check your official emails. You don't want to be the one that keeps sending reminders to, oh, I need this document. And if you're unable to get a document, let's say from Nigeria, because of something, try to communicate with your institution or your licensing body. I've had them waive stuff for me, oh, my school was on strike, I couldn't get this, instead of just keeping quiet and just letting it go on and on and on. So always try to communicate. And so those are some of the tips I have for, the early part of residency, onboarding and all of that. And try to get familiar with your EMR. Just know that whatever they teach you during the onboarding, only half of it will stay. when you actually start the work, you are still going to ask your senior, please, where do I find ins and outs, you know? And it's okay to ask, instead of you trying to just sit down there and sweating it out and all of that. You want to, but try to pick up as quickly as possible. Nobody has time to take your hand here, at least to the best of my knowledge. Nobody has time to really just um guide you specifically. So if you're waiting for them to give you notes about something, you're joking, because I hear people complain about that in the US, that, oh, the education here, it's mostly do it yourself. Nobody will tell you what is this, but you just have to pick up clues along the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's great that you spoke about having that balance between speaking up and then asking questions, and at the same time not coming off as arrogant. The reason I say this is a lot of people that you speak to at this stage will tell you, some people will tell you, okay, make sure you're not asking stupid questions. And so you kind of tell yourself, okay, I don't want to ask questions. And then another person will say, ask questions. So that balance, does it get, I'm just wondering, does it get easier as you go along in the residency to kind of begin to figure out that balance, like in terms of knowing what to ask, when to ask, or it comes from the get-go?
Anyway.
Yeah, so okay, let me ask Dr. Augusta.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the invite. So, I mean, it never really gets easier. Obviously, as you get further into the program, you always want to feel that you know the answers, especially when you have your juniors looking up to you for answers. But these are patients' lives you're dealing with. So honesty is first and foremost important. I always give credit to my juniors who say, I have no idea. But I want to believe that thinking it out, we're all very intelligent people. We wouldn't have made it this far. So when you think about it, you have the answers, you have the knowledge, it's there. But sometimes you get nervous, or sometimes you're not sure, but you have to be able to speak out. So for instance, if they say, okay, there's a patient that needs to be admitted for an acute coronary syndrome rule out, talk about it openly. Say, this is what I would do. Am I on the right track? Because sometimes you just want to verbalize what you are thinking and hoping that, am I on the right track? So you just need a little coaching, because that's what it is. It's not always about knowing all the answers. It's about knowing where to find the answers. So your pharmacist becomes very important. Being able to relate to other people. You would be surprised. The nurses that you work with are very, very keen, especially if you are in a teaching hospital. They've seen it all and they know a lot. So don't dismiss them because they're nurses. That's something to be very, very understanding of, that the nursing body will help you a lot because they've been there and they've seen that and they've been with the patient, so they know exactly what is actually going on and what they're used to seeing. We have the knowledge in terms of the physiology and the understanding. They have the experience in terms of, I've seen this before and this is how we did it. So as an intern, make sure that not only do you listen to your patients and your senior residents and your attending, but make sure you listen to your nursing body. They come in very helpful. And the pharmacist as well, because they're always double checking and verifying orders to make sure we're not putting duplicate things in on board to hurt the patient. So always have that link and just talk it out. Find your senior resident, let them know what you're thinking. The whole point of these next 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, whatever specialty that you're into, is trying to figure out, am I on the right track? They want to hear what your thoughts are. So it's not just about only taking orders, but saying, you know what, this is what I saw. These are the differentials I think. This is how I can rule it out. This is what I think is the best diagnosis that fits this patient. What do you think? Am I on the right track? Once they hear what you're thinking, they know that your thought process is there, because it's not about knowing everything. Medicine is so vast. That's why we have specialists that we consult. It's impossible to know everything, but it's being able to find the resources when we don't know. And that's what's important.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's important what you've spoken about. One of the key things I'm hoping we're going to address here, and I'm going to hand it over to the next speaker and to all of you with insight as well, is interpersonal relationships. How do we navigate our relationships? And you've actually spoken on that, and how crucial it is working with people. When we did our interview preps, you'd notice, or even most of our interviews, feedbacks we received, that a lot of people got questions on how you manage conflict, how do you navigate difficult situations, and that tells you that this interpersonal relationships, I think it's quite crucial in residency. So I'm going to have Dr. Eddie, Dr. Vivian Eddy, talk to us on, working. How do you what's the best way for you to work effectively with other people? Seeing that you're not just going to be working now with just residents, right? You're not just going to be working with your attendees. You're going to be working with a whole team of people now in residency. What's your experience and how would you best address it? Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Congrats again to everyone. So in terms of, I'm internal medicine, and I think that's the same way other specialties may also plan out their rotations. You will go through rotations with, say, on a team on wards or in CCU or ICU, you will be with your other interns. You will be probably with a senior, either second year or third year. So in terms of working with people, you will be working with your fellow interns. You will be working with your seniors. You will be working sometimes with APPs, supervising everything, and APPs like physician assistants or nurse practitioners, and the attending, of course, on the team, plus the nurses. So in terms of the APPs, they're always, in my program, I would speak for, they are always very helpful. They're a good resource. I see them because my program, we don't have, we just have a few fellows for some specialties. So I kind of see them as fellows. I regard them as fellows kind of because they've done this quite a while. They are more experienced than an intern, I would say. And don't just regard them as a nurse or as this APPs. For real, they know stuff. They are very helpful. They are good resources. Then for your fellow intern, in terms of working together, I will give an example with one of my rotations. Or the second month I got in, it was my CCU. And to be honest, I never had any experience with CCU. CCU is a coronary, cardiac unit. And I never saw an impeller in med school. There are a lot of things I haven't seen. I don't know. Never saw what a balloon pump is. So CCU I was a novice, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm an intern. I'm here to learn. That's why I'm an intern. So going in, I had an upper who asked everybody, hey, what experience, we were 2 interns, and she asked, what experience do you have with CCU? And I said, I was blank. Like, I don't have any experience with CCU and, med school training, a lot of things, and I'm here to learn. However, I was paired with my other intern was this other guy who he's very chatty, which is okay. That's his personality. And so he pulled up, he has 3 months rotation and, he did 3 months. And I wasn't intimidated. So one thing you should watch out for, don't let nobody intimidate you. You may not be, in terms of you may be a novice or, no experience or no knowledge of some things here, especially if you schooled back home, if you schooled in Nigeria, right? There are some things, ICU rotation back home is nothing compared to here. In fact, we don't have a CCU back home. I never treated an MI back home. You get it. So this was my first time treating an MI. And I'm not talking about sub-I time. I mean, this is you putting in orders. This is you admitting this patient. This is you in the care of this patient. This is you monitoring this patient. So, well, we started the rotation, but I noticed there was a little kind of, she favored him to me in a way, you know, and it kind of brought friction. And I will just give the example, and if anyone could learn from it, that would be good, because during residency, you will meet different kinds of people, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's for you to pick or take or, you know, carry yourself or handle this situation, because nobody is going to handle it for you. You will handle these situations yourself and move on, remembering, thinking, knowing that some of these rotations will be your only, if it's 1 month you have in intern year on this particular rotation, that may be your only experience until when you're an upper, you know, when you're a senior, and you have, so do not let anyone jeopardize your learning opportunity in any rotation you are in. So we started work, of course. The first few 3 days, I struggled with that rotation. I struggled with notes, you know, coming up with my plan. As I said, I didn't know anything in CCU. And so, but I will read notes, you know, you read the previous notes, read other people's notes, read my senior's note, like see how, you know, you structure your notes, see what plan is done, read about those patients. We have mixed up resources, we have up to date, there are other videos, you know, we watch teachings from on YouTube, you know, on a lot of things. So I would watch those things. And then I had an incident one time where this patient was very sick. And during rounds, I think the attending was a little kind of distracted, the patient we had before this one. Anyway, I mentioned something on when we got to nephrology, you know, renal system, and he didn't listen. It was a little chaotic. But anyway, I mentioned the patient was trying to pee. You know, we've been trying to make the patient pee for a while using diuretic. He didn't know nephrology was on board. And I mentioned that. However, the attending was very upset, very, very upset. And he, you know, shouted at the senior resident, "You are not teaching these interns. They don't know what they're doing. You're not teaching these interns." And he said, "You know what, I should get off the case. And this is too much of a sick person for me to handle," and asked the APP to handle. I felt really bad because I didn't know what I had done. But then at that point, it wasn't a time for me on that round to begin to defend myself, you know, and talk back. I knew it wasn't the right time. So I was quiet because it was hot, you know, the heat of the whole issue. The patient is very sick. And remember, patient care is the ultimate. So after the rounds, I went to meet the attending you know, and explain myself that I actually said this was this, that, you know, in a very polite way, not arguing, not trying to be right, that I apologize if, you know, there was anything I did wrong. I would really like to follow the patient with the APP and learn, you know, from this person. So he said, it's okay. You can follow the APP and learn. However, my senior wasn't finding it likely. She felt, okay, now I am looked at as a bad senior, not putting you through. But in essence, I know I didn't do anything wrong. I was doing all I was, you know, supposed to do. And she took it upon herself and didn't, you know, it was really bad. She would micromanage me, and, you know, I kept asking her, what wrong did I do so I can learn from it? She said, forget about it, get over it. As an intern, you're going to be dinged, you know, just pour the frustration on me. I was coming to work every day. I will be nervous. I don't learn when I'm nervous. I said, no, this isn't me. No, I need to address, this isn't me. I was nervous. This is my first time in ICU. This is the only opportunity as an intern in ICU. I can't lose this month, just this week. So after a nice day, I think on the 4th day after the whole work, I went up to her. I said, please, you know, I'd like to have a word with you when we're done. She said, sure. So we sat down and I spoke to her. The day before, that morning, I had 3 patients when I came in. She came to me. I had 2 patients, sorry. She came over to me. She took one and said, I'm going to take your patient and give to the other resident, the intern, so you can focus on this one. I don't want what happened the other day to happen. So that really bruised me. Like, I was like, no, I'm an intern like him. That shouldn't be like, what, you get what I mean? Like, this is an intern. You're letting him have 3 patients while I have 1 patient. Like, first, you still didn't tell me what wrong I did. So it was almost round time. So I just let it slide. But that was what I said. This is it. We have to address this. It was the height of it. So I spoke with her, in a very, not aggressive, common aggressive, but I kind of let the other residents that we had on the team be, adhering distance, because I didn't want it to be a situation where it would go to chief resident that I came on her, but I politely just asked, hi, you made me feel very inadequate this morning. You took a patient from me and, gave to the other intern. I'm an intern. I'm here to learn. If you do that, I'm not going to learn. What is it that I'm doing wrong so I can work on it? She said, well, you don't ask questions. I said, no, I can't, you're not the only one, I can't ask you all my questions. If you're there, I ask you. I asked the APP, I asked the other senior resident. So what is it that I have done wrong? You made me really feel inadequate. And she said, oh, well, she just kept going on. And after a few words, she kind of said, okay, it's my first time being a senior. I'm also learning, how to be a senior too. I'm frustrated. Then I now said, okay, I appreciate, teaching me. I appreciate, I like the way you're teaching me. I just need you to tell me, where I went wrong and how to do it. This is my first rotation, but I'm doing my best, And that was how we de-escalated this whole thing. I was coming to work, not nervous anymore. She came the next day and said, hey, I'm not going to micromanage. Just tell me what your plan is. I'm not going to erase your note and do it. And we could work better. So I don't know if anyone, I know it's quite a long story, but I don't know if you could pick up 1 or 2 things, because you will have sometime maybe a very difficult senior. Maybe it's someone you're working with. Don't feel intimidated. That person may just have looked up that question, the answer, the resources, and answered it, and you feel like, whoa, we're interns together, but then this person just spit out, a lot of stuff. And don't feel intimidated. No matter what it is, continue to read, continue to learn. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I like that it highlighted a lot of points, and some of them have been pasted on the chat room, and you highlighted on being, proactive, going on to see how to take this, remembering that you're learning, remembering that you have to meet up people, have feedbacks from them, but at the same time being respectful. And we know we talked about being bold and the balance between it. I think your story illustrated that quite beautifully with a lot of other points. Some of the main points have actually been summarized on the chat, and so we can look at it as we go on along. So thank you for sharing that beautiful story. One of the things I'm going to go on and speak to 2 things that we're going to talk about next, and I'm going to go to Dr. Molly on it, and we'll just try and see how we can round up then to have everybody ask questions. Please feel free to post questions on the chat as we're going along, so that you don't lose your train of thoughts, and I'll come back to you. So I'm going to ask Dr. Omole to tell us, given all these things, what's your typical day like? Some of us that match have gotten our schedules. They look like Greek. So personally, they look like Greek. Night float here, day shift here. I know it's also program specific, but if you can tell us very briefly what a typical day or a typical week schedule is like, to give us an idea. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you to all of the previous speakers. I couldn't have agreed more with each and everything you guys said. And for the listeners, I think my pitch would be, I am so proud of you. If you matched already, I am really proud of you. For you to be here means that you're willing to learn. If you are nervous about starting this opportunity before you, it's actually a very good sign, they would tell us. If you are overly confident that, you know what, I got this, that is where the problem is. So for you to be seated right here, trying to listen, trying to learn from each and every one of us actually speaks volume about you, right? So I really do appreciate that. Now, to the question that you've asked about what a typical day is, again, it's program specific, and it also depends on which rotation you're starting with. Personally, for me, I started on nights. So not only was I starting residency for the first time, it was also like, it kind of is a kind of rotation that kind of messes with your circadian rhythm, right? But yeah, so for night, we're expected to be there at 6:30 p.m. Please bear in mind that it differs with each, it differs with each programs. I try to get there solid 30 minutes before 6:30. So between 5:45 to 6 o'clock, I am there. Okay. Most of the times when you get there, your senior who would be on nights with you will most likely not be there. Because again, they're PGY2s, they're PGY3s, they're already getting tired. So unlike you, who is very adamant on getting to work really early, they probably have already escaped that phase. So what I do is I come in always walking with a smile. Don't look like what you're going through. Don't look like your nervousness. Don't do that. So I come in, you say hi to the day team, right? Which also speaks volume about you and your character. If you're the kind of intern who comes late, who shows up late, knowing fully well that they're going to be handing off to you, they'll be signing out to you. It speaks volume about your character because it tells them that you do not respect them and you do not consider like the fact that they have also been in the hospital 12 hours prior to when you came on. So come in early, chit chat with them, like till your senior comes, like, hey, how was today? Was it stressful? Did you see anything interesting? Just little chit chat. Were you able to eat something? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, are you ready to sign out? Okay, no problem. I'll get situated. Let them know that, oh, this one actually does care with the fact that we've been here beforehand. Now, when they're signing out to you, I always have a paper and a pen. You can't remember everything. There will be tasks they need you to do overnight. I'm talking about people who have schedules. If you'll be working nights, right? There's a lot going on, not as much as day shift, but there's actually a lot going on at night for weird reasons. I don't know if it's just my hospital. The amount of code blues we have is always at night.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it's I don't know. So it feels like, oh, when you're night shift, it will be chill. Not all the time, right? So make sure whenever they're talking to you about a patient, right? You can tell which patient. They tell you, oh, this patient is still in the surgical room. It's a no-brainer. When they're signing out a patient to you, assume this is your parent. I want to believe we all love our parents. So if my mom or my dad is in the surgical room, I want to check in with the nurse to know when they're back. I want to go see my mom or I want to go see my dad to see how well they're doing. So that's also another thing I always have at the back of my mind whenever I step my foot into the hospital. I don't just see these people as strangers. I always tell myself, this person is somebody's father. This person is somebody's son. This person is somebody's confidant, right? So always try to, make sure you note down the important things. Set timer if you have to. For those of you who will be on days, it's pretty much the opposite of nights. So basically, you are coming in at least for my program, we come in you're supposed to be there at 6:30 a.m. Again, I was that resident who was always there at 5:45. If I'm on floors, if I'm on ICU rotation, because ICU is very tasky. Let nobody sweet talk you. ICU would drain you. So I need you to put that at the back of your mind. Okay. Whenever I was on ICU, the latest I was there was 5:30. That was the latest. And that was even later along the rotation. When I first started, 5:15, it does not miss. Because I want to use that ample amount of time to talk to the nurses, to quickly look at all of my patient panel and be able to comfortably come back to seat and chat review. All of this is just telling them how well you prepare about your patient. Because by the time you sit down to chat review, that's when you know that even to chat review takes a whole lot of your time. And before you know it, they're telling you, oh, attending so-so-so, Dr. So-so-so wants to round at 9:30. You have 6 patients to see, for example. You've only chat reviewed 2 people. And I get it. You're an intern. I do agree. It's going to take a while, but at the same time, you don't want to start on a wrong note. So one of the best ways for you to prepare yourself is show up early. We all know ourselves. Some people are very quick to grasp stuff. Some people are not. I'll take myself, for example. I am not a computer person. It's not my thing. So all of this Epic, EMR, and all this stuff, I know I'm not so good at it. And that was actually one of the reasons why I always showed up really early. Of course, people will be like, "Oh, Janet, you're already here. Don't worry. Don't worry about me. I know what I'm doing." And it did pay off well. It will pay off because trust me, the nurses are watching, the attendants, your seniors, they are all seeing it. So try as much as possible. Get there early. Mindset is very important. I'm talking not just as from a perspective of someone who was an intern, but also from a perspective of somebody who is currently a senior. I tell all my interns on board, the first thing I tell them, I was like, I don't care about your medical knowledge. I care about your work ethic. And I care about your energy. You will be so surprised how energy pollutes the whole team. If you have any issues, and I always specifically tell my ladies, like females, I'm like, we are both females. If it's boyfriend matter, if it's personal issues, if it's that you're on your period, name it. You know how women sometimes, we're a little bit much more emotional than guys, that it's going to affect your performance. Let me know in time. I don't need the details of your personal life, but I need you to let me know in time, because attitude is everything. Your attitude is everything. So attitude with your work ethic, right? And when I say work ethic, I mean / organization is everything, and it's going to speak for you. Now, for those of you who would be doing electives, now it also depends on the some electives are chiller than some. At least in my program, it's a level 1 trauma center. We have a cardiac transplant in my program unit. So cardiology is very, very, very hectic. A lot of them also wants you to show up at 7 a.m. to say the least, right? As compared to, let me see, rheumatology. Rheumatology, they will tell you come at 10 a.m. or come at 11. Regardless of whichever rotation you're coming on, try to come there earlier than, the expected time, at least 30 minutes, right? Come with a beautiful mindset. It even helps you absorb knowledge very well. Don't come feeling so damp, and don't come feeling already like, I don't even know. And that's another thing. Somebody mentioned, I don't know which of the speaker mentioned it. Comparison is a stealer of joy. Do not compare yourself. It almost stole my joy. It almost stole my joy in residency as an intern. You start comparing yourself to med student because, like somebody rightly said, there are a lot of things we don't know as foreign medical graduates. There are a lot of things you've not heard of. And you will see a med student, small med student will be there doing talking, and you are just there saying, hey. You know what I mean? And you start to compare yourself. And gradually, you will realize that you start to steal your joy, even the ones you know, then you don't confidently talk about it. So please, regardless of whichever rotation is going to be, I think for me, to round up my point is 3 important things. Come prepared, come early, be organized. Please be organized. And most importantly, again, for me, come with a bright attitude. It's going to speak for you. Because if you come with a beautiful attitude, beautiful mindset, it's going to show, it's going to manifest in the way you talk to your senior, the way you talk to your co-intern, the way you even respond to your attendants. I'm not saying you don't have insecurities, but just come with a beautiful attitude, come with a beautiful mindset. And yeah, that's all I have to say for now.
Dr. Reina, you're muted.
Hi, okay, thank you so much, Dr. Omoli, for that. It was very beautifully done. We're running out of time, and I feel like we should stay here forever to hear about it. Just to remind everyone, we have an attendance. We have like about 104 people now, and in attendance. And so I'm going to remind us what we're talking about. We're looking at the life of a resident, how to navigate to make things successful for ourselves. And we're listening to wonderful guest speakers who are giving us very good nuggets on how to be the best that we can. And they have navigated residency quite successfully. So I'm learning so much, but we're running out of time. So I'm just going to try and let's keep it a bit simple. Let's keep it a bit shorter so that we can have the audience ask questions at the end, because I think we have actually kind of run out of time. So I'm going to go directly to Dr. Ada to ask, so one of the things that I've heard about residencies, you know, as much as we want to learn clinical skills and all of that, is you're developing yourself career-wise, you're developing yourself professionally. And it's very important to be intentional about it from the get-go, from what I've heard about. So a lot of people finish residency and they realize that I haven't been intentional about seeking out mentors, guidance. And then they realize, especially those of them that want to go into fellowship, then you realize I should have done things a bit differently. From the get-go, I should have done X, Y, and Z. Who should I have sought out? So I'm going to ask Dr. Ada to speak to us on, you know, opportunities. How do we leverage on opportunities? I know, for instance, we need to do QI projects, research to make ourselves more competitive out there. So if there are other things as well that you can think of, and then also like in terms of the whole workload as a resident, how do you manage that balance and get the best out of residency to catapult you to the next? So it's not just about residency, life after residency as well. Can you speak to us on that, Dr. Ada? Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the speakers, because everybody has said such wonderful things. I was actually going to talk about the other aspects of residency besides, you know, just being on the floors or the clinic. I happen to be the academic affairs coordinator of my program. So everything that involves academics, like the didactics, the journal clubs, the research, the QI projects, everything kind of goes through me, and I work with all of the residents too, and the attendings to navigate that process. Unfortunately, not everybody understands the importance of all of this, especially for those of us who are IMGs. Maybe we didn't have that experience, journal club, for example, or didactics. We didn't have that experience. And then coming here is also new, and we're also focused on just the clinical aspect, and we leave the academic aspect of it. Just like Dr. Omole was talking about how a medical student who is currently in medical school might be more knowledgeable or more updated in knowledge, is because they're constantly learning new things. So for some of us who have been doctors in another country, sometimes it's difficult for us to change our mindsets or to unlearn previous things and learn new things. So in residency, you have to keep your mind open to learn new things. And some of these new things, you learn it during didactics or during journal clubs, and you learn it from your peers, your colleagues, not even necessarily not necessarily the attendings. The attendings are good on the floors or in the clinic, but when it comes to the academic setting, you learn a lot from your peers. You learn a lot from the medical students, because in my program, we get them to present as well. In terms of navigating your future, your career after residency, to be honest, not everybody from day one knows exactly what they want to do after residency. You know, because initially all you wanted to do was match. Hey, I just need to get into residency, whether it's FM, IM, pediatrics, psychiatry, whatever is available, let me just get in there. And then when you get in, your first few rotations, you may not like them, or they might be too tough. It may be, it may take a while for you to realize or to come to a conclusion of what you really want to do. Let's say you want to do a fellowship after residency, or you just want to be a hospitalist, or you want to be a primary care provider, or you don't even want to practice medicine. It's okay. It's okay not to know what you want to do from day one, but it's not okay to sit down there and wait till the very last minute to figure it out. Okay, ask questions, seek mentorship from your seniors, from your attendings. If you attend a rotation, if you're in a rotation that you enjoy, find out what it is you enjoy about this and ask yourself, can I do this for the rest of my life? Will it Will I be passionate enough about it to do it for the rest of my life? And will it pay me well to provide for myself and my family at the end of my residency or in the future? So you try to figure it out, but don't rush into picking a specialty or picking a fellowship or deciding what you want to do. But at the same time, remember that residency is only 3 years. And after that 3 years, you want to have a plan. So you start working on that plan. If you decide early enough that, let's say, oh, you want to do GI fellowship, of course, you know that you want to start early to have more GI rotations or electives, or do a procedure elective. Like you have to have on your new innovations, for example, which is the portal where you log in all of your procedures. You want to show that you participated in endoscopies or colonoscopies. You want to show that you rounded with your GI attendings, because all of those things will be important when you're applying for fellowship. If you say you don't want to do a fellowship, you suddenly you realize you want to be a hospitalist, then you want to show that you did have a lot of inpatient rotations. Let's say you do your regular inpatient, or some people call it floors rotation. We call it inpatient when you're working in a hospital. But in addition to that, you want to do electives in the hospital. Let's say you want to do infectious disease elective in the hospital. You want to do nephrology in the hospital, cardiology in the hospital. You want to have as many inpatient rotations or as electives that are relevant to the specialty you choose at the end of the day. Lastly, I just want to talk a little bit about work-life balance, which she talked about. Now, I always talk to people that have families, because I have, my own family, my daughter with me. You always have to remember that you are not on this journey by yourself. There are people that probably relocated with you, people that made sacrifices to be here with you. One of the things that I learned to do is prepare my daughter for each rotation, because in residency, and I think this cuts across programs, every month you switch to a different rotation. So let's say this month you're in cardiology, next month you're in pediatrics, the other month rheumatology. Some rotations are heavier than others. So one of the things I've learned to do is prepare my daughter. I say, hey, look, next month I'm going to be on inpatient. It's going to be very difficult. I have to leave the house as early as 5 o'clock in the morning, and I may not be back until 7:30 or 8. And when I come back, I will be exhausted. What that means is that I won't be able to, I may not have as much energy to play with you or help you with homework or help you with this. So please be patient with me in this coming month. But then maybe the next month or 2 months later, I have a lighter rotation where I have so many days off, and, maybe like some chill rotation, like rheumatology. I'm getting there by 9 o'clock in the morning and I leave at 3 o'clock. I'm like, you know what, this month I have more time. We can do some mommy-daughter day or mommy-daughter, whatever you want us to do. But remember that the people in your lives also matter. That's the point I'm trying to make. As you navigate this process, prepare your family for the tough rotations. And when you have time, when you have lighter rotations, spend time with your family, spend time with your loved ones. Call your mom if your mom doesn't live in the same city or in another country. Just plan ahead. Plan ahead is the title of this message. Just plan ahead. That's why we're all here, because we want to get information, so we're prepared ahead of time. But remember, like I said, it's okay if you don't have it all figured out at the beginning, but it's not okay if you wait till the last minute to try to figure things out. So ask questions, like everybody has said, ask questions. Don't be intimidated. Show up with a good attitude. I tell you, that statement from Dr. Omole is, it cannot be overemphasized. Show up with a good attitude. Listen, you may be tired. We're all tired. You may be broke. We're all broke. We're residents. You may be just frustrated with a senior. It doesn't matter what it is. You may even feel like you're not good enough. You may feel like you don't have what it takes, but show up, and show up with a good attitude. And then when you go back home to your family, you can just, let go of everything, and you'll feel better the next day. Just remember that whatever you're going through, other people are going through it. but show up with a good attitude. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. One thing that Dr. Ada Atoyin did not tell us when she was telling us all the things that she's involved in her program is that she's actually the best resident of 2024 in her program. So I'm going to add that there. So thank you for sharing that with us. Tell me, there's a question on the platform as well. And since you've spoken about balancing things, I really like that tip that you gave about preparing your daughter before time. One thing that you realize in the whole USMLE journey is that you actually have to carry your family along. So when I marched into residency, everyone, even my son was rejoicing. Everybody kind of already knew what marching into residency was. It's a whole family thing. Everybody knows what you're doing when you're writing exams. They're happy with you when you pass. So it's kind of amazing how they are so much a part of this journey. So one of the questions that we've been asked on the platform is how do you manage a balancing now your clinical duties with studying? So you've talked about managing your time with family, with your whole life, but in terms of getting that time to have a personal study time, how do you navigate that? What's your schedule like? How do you fit it in? Thank you.
If I may, so if you have kids, again, I always start with families that have kids because it's always challenging with kids. Honestly, you have to set, like with my daughter, we have a routine. The routine is not just for her, it's also so that I can have some time. You know that bedtime is at a certain time. And when they go to bed, that's when, as a mother or as a parent, if you're a parent on this platform, you know that that is when you have time to even recollect your thoughts for the day. You have to figure out what works for you as a person. Some people do well studying at night. Some like to study in the morning, like early in the morning when they wake up. Some people like to go to the gym in the morning, and some like to go in the evening. Exercise and studying are two things that, one way or another, you need to figure out how to combine that in your own life. So for me, I would say having a routine at home that works for you and your kids or you and your family, or even if you're a single person and you don't have dependents, but having a routine, having a schedule. And I think that's why before your rotation in most programs, or at least in my program, you get your schedule 2 weeks ahead of time. So that gives you time to plan. Okay. That way, you know what time you have to be at work and you know what time you get home. Then you know based on your personality what time you have to study. But I will tell you, you have to study. Otherwise, those medical students are going to keep showing you up, those sub-interns, because everybody is trying to show that they know, and you can't show that you know if you really do not know. So studying is important. That's why at the beginning, I talked about your resources. In internal medicine, for example, I know they have something called the Mix app, and they have their ACP portals. And with those resources, you can study and learn new things and read articles. In pediatrics, for example, I know there's the AAP portal. On that portal, I promise you, there are articles that you can read. There are questions that you can answer if you're the type of person that likes to study with questions. There are tons of resources. All you have to do is use those resources. Another thing is don't be an island. Don't study alone. Okay. One of the things that has really helped me in this journey is having study partners, people that are on the same journey as I'm on. Friends that are also in family medicine, the same level. So we study together. We encourage each other. We hold each other accountable. Things like that are very important. That's honestly, that's the only way to go about it. Have a good routine that works for you and your family, and then make out time to study. for those going into family medicine, we have AAFP and we have the ABFM portal. These two portals are, honestly, they're the best, and we got them for free. I don't know if my program paid for them. I know I never paid for it, for any of those, but on those portals, you get tons of resources. You get questions, blocks of 10. You can lay down at night before you sleep and just go through 10 questions, and that's it. Maybe the following night you can decide to read an article or something, but read something. Honestly, that's the only way I know to keep yourself in the game and keep yourself prepared for, just prepared for exams or ITEs, or just preparing yourself for whatever walks in through the ER and they call you, hey, I have this patient with the knot on his head. I'm like, what is that? But there are some things that you would have come across reading questions or reading journals, and then you just have an idea. So yes, most programs provide you access to your portals, the portals that you need, portals that are specialty specific portals. So like I said, internal medicine, I know they have ACP, they have MIXA. Family medicine, we have AAFP and we have our ABFM. Pediatrics has AAP, I think is what's called. So most programs provide you with these portals. Use them. They are great resources, and they keep you ahead of the game.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. So again, like really structure our routines, especially getting our families involved with them, trying to incorporate like exercises and healthy living, and then also have a study partner and all of that. And then use your resources at your tips. Thank you so much for those tips. So I'm going to go over to Dr. Gus. We're going to be rounding up, and I think Dr. Augusta will be leaving soon. And I one last question that is really nagging at me. I know we've touched on it. Some of the speakers have talked about seeking out mentors. I want to know, how do I seek out these mentors? Do I just approach any random person? Do I approach somebody I like? What criteria do you look out for to say this is an ideal mentor? How do you even approach them? Do you just say to them, you're going to be my mentor? You're going to give me feedback? What do I say to them? Can you speak to us about that? Thank you.
Sure. So, I would not go to the first person I meet. Obviously, I think just as clinically, when we see a patient, observation is key. It goes on with the same thing of life, right? Observation is key. So for the first year as an intern, you're observing. You're trying to figure out, what is your environment like? Who most represents what I am like? Who can I emulate? Who do I see as, this person seems to relate to me a little bit better? I think all of that is very important. I'm a new mom, and so I actually sought out people who also were new mothers in the residency program. My son is 10 months old now, so it was very difficult having my husband, as we first started on this journey, as 2, and now it's 3 of us. So it's, navigating the ropes as a new mom and a wife, and it's not an easy venture. But then when you find other colleagues that are doing it, it's more of a support. And so you say, oh my goodness, my kid was sick today. What did you guys do about how did you navigate being on bed rest? Because I was actually on bed rest for 3 months when I was a second-year resident. And so because I demonstrated my ability and commitment to learning and my patience, they actually sent me patients to call from home and do telehealth medicine. And so all of that lend a hand. So always remember that as a first year, eyes are on you, especially in family practice, right? In clinic setting. And usually the family practice setting, they don't really accept as many residents as other residency programs. So they get to know you intimately. And so it's very important that when you're seeking out a mentor, you look for someone that most emulates your life's being, because we're all on a particular journey and a pathway. But the one common bond is that we enjoy medicine and helping people and being there for others. But we also have our own personal lives. So it's very, very important to try and look for a mentor that most emulates our lifestyle and our pattern in what we're going through. And so being a mom, I looked for other moms and we had that common bond. So when my senior had, a child, they understand you a lot more. If you're single, then, there are mentors that are also single that say, okay, hey, let's go to trivia night. Those were things that I wasn't able to partake in being on bed rest. But my other colleagues understood that. And those who could not also attend, we had the ability to talk and understand and grasp and just share information and tidbits outside of medicine. So those are, things that you should also look out for, is always, always, always look for a mentor that emulates your lifestyle and your life pattern, because we're not all the same. We're not all created equal. So that would be my tip. Observation is key.
Thank you so much for that tip. I know you have to run because now it's very apparent why you have to run. Having a 10-month-old baby, congratulations anyway. So we want to thank you so much for being part of this, sharing your journey, sharing all these beautiful nuggets for us to help us navigate through residency. We wish you all of the best, and we hope we're going to be able to call on you some other time to come join us and, continue to give us nuggets for the future. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you.
It was my pleasure, and congratulations to everybody. And remember, we're all on this journey together. It's not about all the information that you have. We know you have it because you made it this far. It's really just about locating when I don't know. And it's always important to know what you don't know, because we can't know everything. Know what you do not know, and then be able to seek out help. That's the most important. All right. Congratulations, everybody, and have a great night. Thank you, Edward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Auguste.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody. Good night.
Good night. So rounding up with the last questions, and then if there's anything on the floor, I'm going to be ending the meeting soon, I'm going to ask Dr. A.B. IB, right? I know
Just
you're
call me AB, it's fine.
okay. Yeah, I know you're an attending, right? And so I would really love to know, so this is our last question for you from attending point of view, post residency now, how did you navigate your search? How did you navigate your application process? What can you tell us were tips, or reflecting back, what tips would you give us so that if we get to that point, we'll be able to navigate that process successfully?
Okay, so start looking early. I would say, towards the middle of your second year, especially if you are specific about your location. And then also, if you require a visa, it's important that you start looking early. And then there are little nitty-gritties, if the place accepts visa candidates or not. And then if salary that will be comfortable with you, the cost of living in that area, tax, proximity to family, what you really would like to do, and then if the schedule fits, if the schedule would fit, would be ideal for you. So those are things that are down the line that you have to consider. I just want to put just quick tips for pediatrics, right? Quick one. This might sound very funny, but please, whenever you are in the NICU or in the newborn nursery, always wrap the babies after examining. You might think it's something small, but the nurses are going to get very, very pissed at you if you don't wrap up those babies. And then make sure you always take permission. I don't know if this applies to adult medicine, but always ask your nurses before you go examine the babies. Because if you go and they haven't, maybe they want to do vitals or something, or they want to, what they call it, they want to do cluster care. If you go before them, they will eat you out. So those are some of the, because it even applies, even as an attending, I have family medicine residents, and then I have nurses reporting to me, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I'll tell them. So it's something that I don't think is just specific to, my residency and all of that. And then talking about career-wise, just a quick one about your future specialty and all of that. Like the other speakers have said, choose early, but also make sure you get the right electives, that you need that would help you in your career choice. Start writing, if you're going to go for competitive specialties like GI or pediatric emergency medicine, start planning early, and then also plan for alternatives as well. It's not, you always want to think, if I don't match, in all of these specialties, what would be the next best thing I can do before I can come back to this. So always plan for alternatives for those very, very competitive specialties. And I always like to tell people, especially foreign medical graduates, sometimes I think there's this inadequacy some people feel if they don't do fellowship. I don't think, don't do fellowship because you think that you're going to make more money or because it's more prestigious. Do fellowship because you actually want to enjoy that specialty, or you will enjoy that specialty. Don't do it because it sounds good to you that they say, oh, I'm a pediatric cardiologist, or I'm a critical care specialist. Don't do it because it sounds good to you, but you want to really enjoy it. Also, one more tip is enjoy residency. If you know you don't want to specialize, try to do cool electives. It's very important because those are the electives that will help you study. Those are the electives that would also help you relax. I did some very funny electives. No, I didn't do sleep. I did physician, take care of yourself elective. They just made me read some books that I had to summarize, which I only read the first and last pages. So things like that, if you can just get away with those kind of electives, it's fine. It's not every time you go choose cardiology elective or GI elective. If you have simple electives, take it. Those are very nice moments in residency that almost feel like vacation. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Okay, so as a final wrap up, we are going to ask Dr. Omole, what do you wish you had? I'm going to ask you directly. What do you wish you had known? Very quickly and succinctly tell me, what do you wish you would have known before you started residency?
Oh, that's a very good question, actually.
It's like an interview question, right? Like from a PD.
Yeah.
What do you think you would have known? Yeah, so.
What do I wish I would have known?
Yes.
One thing I wish I would have known is there's more to residency than just the medical knowledge. Logistics of your hospital is as well important as your medical knowledge and clinical skills. You can have great medical knowledge and clinical skills, but you don't know the in and out of the hospital, how to get things done, when to call, which number to call. Logistics is as well important. I guess going into residency, I was more focused on, I need to know this. I have to know this. When they ask me questions, I want to be able to answer this question, like medical questions and stuff. But yeah, logistics is as well important. And logistics, unfortunately, there's no textbook for it. Medical knowledge, you can read, do mix up and all of that. Logistics just comes with, with the experiences that you have to undergo. And also ask questions, like everyone has rightly said. Ask your seniors, like, oh, in situations like this, how do I navigate this? So they will be able to tell you. I think that's one thing I would say. Don't focus only or solely on medical knowledge and clinical skills. Logistics is as well important.
Thank you so much for that. I suppose when we went to university, they always used to have this thing in Nigeria where they will say, let the university pass through you, don't just pass through the university. So I suppose that's a part of you that You're not allowing just the residency pass through, you're not just passing through the residency and learning just clinical, you're also letting the residency pass through, you're learning the whole system. So thank you for that as well. And that's also very important. It's something we don't look out for. So thank you so much, everyone, for being with us tonight, and so much to all the speakers. Again, we are having this wonderful guest speak to us on how to navigate residency, nuggets on how to make it easier for us to transition. They have shared so many tips, a lot of them bordering on orientation, first few days, how to kick the ground running, how the hospital system works. We've gone through expectations of residents. We've also gone through professional development, what a typical day looks like, how to balance our lives and make it easier, how to work effectively with others. And we've touched a bit on how to also navigate patient care and then logistics. So as we part today, I'm just going to have final words, maybe about just a few words from each person, just for about a minute, from Dr. Atwenyi that has joined us, Dr. Ebi, Dr. Eddie, and Dr. Molly. Just your final thoughts for us today.
Sorry, before the final thought, someone asked a question in the group chat about being a new resident, new residency program. How do they navigate? So the thing with new residency programs is that it's experimental, as well as the faculty and the residents are learning at the same time how to navigate the process. So what's my advice to that person is to just understand that there are going to be many imperfections in that program, and he or she should try to contribute as much as possible to developing the program. You know, get information from other residencies, speak to your program director. Hey, this is my friend in so program, you know, said they do like this. Do you think this is something that will work with or for us? Because my program here, the family medicine residency here, is just like 3 years old, and they had a lot of problems starting out. So the person should just brace up. It's going to be kind of an experimental rough ride initially, and then everybody will pick up with time.
Okay, thank you so much. So I am getting, thank you for that. I actually forgot to carry everybody along. So just before you guys give us your final parting words, I'm just gonna take 3 questions. Questions from the floor. I'll start off with one that somebody has sent to me directly. She is asking that I ask about moonlighting. If one of the guest speakers can speak to moonlighting, their thoughts on it. And then if there are any other, I'll take 2 more questions from the floor, and then you guys can then wrap up this beautiful session. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I can answer on moonlighting. So in your first year, to be honest, to moonlight for internal medicine, you must have one of the criteria for Georgia. You must have step 3. You must have done step 3. And some people have step 3 before they come in. Some people do step 3 in their first year. Try and knock out step 3. If you can do it before you resume, beautiful. So you can just focus in residency. If you want to do it, you know, in first year, try to knock it out as soon as possible. I would say some programs, you will, for you to moonlight, after you get the license, you will get permission from your program director. If your program director, for my program, though, I'll speak on to that. If your program is at your program director's discretion, let me put it that way, especially in first year. My program, we don't do first years. It's from second year they'll let you do. But then, when I say is at their discretion, if you are a resident who maybe they see is struggling, they will advise, the program director will advise you to kind of hold off on moonlight and focus on residency. Residency is hard as it is. I know we all need to make some money and, supplement what we have and things like that. But yeah, that's it. I mean, it will be some program, as I said, it will be at the discretion of your program director. Some programs will already, say, go ahead with it. You will need a license, of course, to apply to get that license. You need yeah, that's the major thing. You can, but then, just remember you have to be at your best. If you are a troublesome resident, your program director may not sign you up for it.
Thank you so much for that. So please, if you're thinking of moonlighting for extra money, be a good resident and work very hard. Get your step 3 out of the way. So please, does anyone have any burning questions? And incidentally, the person asking the question of moonlighting happens to be going to Georgia. So that's very good for that person. Any other questions from anybody before we wrap up this beautiful and wonderful session? I have gained so much from this, and I'm sure everybody has. So if there's no questions, or feel free to raise up your hand and ask your question if you do.
So also, if you're on a J1 visa, you cannot moonlight.
Thank you.
Enjoy yourself, or don't be the bookworm. If the residents are going out, first years, go out. Don't be the one that you never show up for social events. You always, oh, let's go to the Braves game. I don't know. I've never go. I don't enjoy American football, but just go. Just show up. Don't be that person that you never show up for social things, never show up for. I know sometimes it can be very, it's cultural shock here too. Like back home, when someone has a birthday and they invite you out, they're going to pay for you. Over here, you will pay for yourself. So know that, okay? You will be paying for yourself when you go out, but, try to make a balance. That's what I mean. Like, make a balance. Don't always be the one to not show up in your class when interns are going out. You don't want to go, don't do that. Pass through the program while the program is passing through you.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Any other last final thoughts before we wrap up this wonderful session today? Yeah.
Just say,
you wanted to say something?
yeah, I'll just say, make out time to exercise, because listen, I did a sub internship at my program in 2020. And then when I finally joined the program in 2022, the people that were interns in 2022, I beg your pardon, in 2020, by 2022, they were third years and they were obese. Residency can make you a sitting duck if you don't get out there. If you're not intentional about taking care of your health. The cafeteria food may not be the best. Sometimes you're sitting down and doing chart reviews, or you're in rotations that are not really active. Make out time to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Exercise, make yourself look good, feel good about yourself, do things that you enjoy. And like Dr. Eddie said, hang out with your colleagues, because that also helps create some type of camaraderie outside of the residency program. That also helps improve your team spirit. If you can go out and watch a game together and enjoy the game together, then when you're on the floors, you can work together as a team. So take care of yourself, have fun, exercise, don't get obese, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ebby, any final thoughts? Thank you. I stress eat, so thank you for that. So I'm gonna try and get exercise into my routines from now on, and you've spoken about routines. Dr. Ebby, any final thoughts for us?
Don't get into competition in residency. Don't try to overthrow, or there's someone who's like they're always saying is the best, and you just keep trying. Just be yourself and enjoy the journey and celebrate people. If someone is the best resident of the year, or someone is winning awards, hail the person, seek their opinion, like, oh, someone is really good at something. Always, kind of fan the person's ego to help you do stuff like, my project, help me do it now, or let's do it together, instead of trying to, want to be at the, just trying to drag and everything. And don't get discouraged, with your IT performance. It's a good indicator of how well you would do, but it's not the ultimate indicator. And yeah, just enjoy, take one day at a time. If you know you are slow, when I mean slow, especially with your computer work, try to come. I had a colleague that used to come to work at 3 a.m. for morning shift because he was really, really slow. But the good thing is that he would have had problems in residency, but because they saw the efforts that he was putting in trying to get better every time, he graduated, you know. This is someone that I knew that people did not do up to half of, you know, mistakes or something, but because of how much effort he kept on putting to get better, they kind of ignored his little mistakes here and there. And so just put in the effort.
Thank you so much. Dr. Eddie, thank you so much for all those tips, Dr. Eddie. We appreciate it. Dr. Eddie?
I think you want to say Dr. Omole.
Okay, Dr. Janet Omole, yes.
Yeah, like everybody has said, live life. Live life. Residency is just a small chunk of, you know, the entirety of your life. It's a very, very steep learning curve. Give yourself grace. Please give yourself grace. Don't worry, you didn't kill anybody. You will not kill anybody. Just learn, play, have fun. I told myself going into residency, I said, I want to look back at the end of, you know, my 3 years and pat myself at the back. That's exactly what my goal is. Remember, the goal is not for you to be the best resident. That's not why we're doing this. The goal is for you to be the best version, the best doctor that is out there, you know? So yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Dr. Omole. Dr. Vivian, any last thoughts? Did you share already? I think you.
Yeah, enjoy yourself. That's all. Like,
thank you so much, everyone.
Find time to still do the things you love to do. If you love to dance, find time to dance. If you love to, you know, just this is life going on. It's not life is not gonna be on hold when this is going on. If you have kids, it's difficult to incorporate. I have 2 kids, by the way. Trust me. Oh gosh, I have a 10 and an 8-year-old. I had to incorporate the services of a nanny. I don't know if people have kids here. It's quite pricey, but this is not a luxury. This is a necessity. What will make you keep saying do it? Remember, even if you have a nanny, you're still going to be incorporated into your children's life. I get back home, I'm tired. I still need to go through my kids' schoolwork. I still need to sit down with them because life is going on. Life isn't holding on while residence is going on. I still need to go for school meetings. I still need to correct it, teach them math, you know, reading, science. So it gets frustrating. There are times you will be frustrated. I have cried a lot. I've sat down in my car and just cried. I'm trying to do my own work. I'm trying to read it. I sometimes have children. I'm trying to do theirs. Trust me, help. Any resource you can get, your parents, your mom, if they can come in to help. If you can afford a nanny, it's quite pricey. Trust me, on a residence paycheck, it is pricey. But if you can, please use a nanny.
Thank you.
Your sanity is required. Remember, life is not on hold. Life will still keep going on. You know, problems at home will still be there. If you're married, you may have marital issues. It will still be there. But remember, keep to the goal. The goal is, you work so hard to get here. What is the most important thing for this next 3 or more years? This residency. So don't let nothing steal it from you. Be it, you know, family-wise, marriage, relationship, whatever it is, because life will keep going on. God bless you all.
God bless you too. Thank you so much, everyone. With this, we've come to the end of our meeting today. We thank these wonderful guests. Please give them all your applause for this wonderful session. So we're going to be ending it, and all the best in your journey. We will still have other sessions to address the match process. Thank you so much, everyone, and have